Excuse me, sir. Have you ever built a business in Japan before?
Who told you that?
Well, you look like a businessman. I have a lot of people who want to know how to start a business in Japan. Can I ask you a few
Are you guys
questions?
filming this?
Yes, we are.
Okay, yeah, actually, I'm an entrepreneur. I run a business just here in Shibuya.
And today I'm here with.
Yeah, I'm Beau Becker. I'm the founder of Reiwa Pharmaceuticals. We're a startup here in Tokyo, just in Shibuya. I realized that there was no Japanese company trying to help Japanese people who turn red after they drink alcohol. So we're making specialty medicine and supplements to help those people.
What got you interested in starting a business here in Japan?
Well, I always wanted to start a business wherever it was. But during college, I had an internship here in Tokyo. Just totally fell in love with the culture, the business culture. I've been a lifelong sushi lover. So I just had this dream like, what if I could turn my passion for Japanese culture into a business and make it and even help Japanese people with my dream? So that was kind of how we got started.
A lot of people think it's very difficult to start a business in Japan. Do you think that's true?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's the easiest place, especially the language barrier, right? I think if you're someone who loves Japanese culture, you're really interested in it, go for it. I'm here to help you, whatever you need. But I think if you're someone who's had no exposure to Japanese culture and language before, maybe take a vacation in Japan first and give it a try before you jump headfirst into the business.
And why do you say that?
I just think if you've got your business paperwork, you've got all these processes you have to go through. Unfortunately, it's all going to be in Japanese here, right? Your accountants usually aren't speaking English very well. When you're talking to the city hall, the banks, almost everything's done in Japanese. So I think you should at least have an introduction to that before you jump in head first.
Do you think it's necessary to learn Japanese first in order to start a business in Japan?
Not 100% necessary. I know a lot of entrepreneurs here that have very limited Japanese ability. They're doing just fine, but I do think they're relying on middlemen or translators or interpreters a lot, and it's a lot more difficult for them to really grab the local business and get a cool chance here.
So, what do you recommend for people who want to start a business in Japan, but they just cannot learn Japanese no matter how much they try?
Not up for it. Ugh, that's a tough question. I would say get a partner who speaks Japanese would probably be the best answer for that. I think if you have no prior knowledge of Japanese culture, it's going to be tough. But yeah, I mean, first thing you would do, just get a ticket here to Tokyo, chill out for a couple weeks, do a little market research yourself. Make sure what you think is the reality here is actually happening. Talk to someone like me, or there's a huge community of expats and internationals here in Tokyo that you can reach out to. I mean, that'd be a great place to start before you just dive into the full business. Got it. But I guess now that I'm thinking about it, like the advice I got before I started my business was stop talking about it, stop telling everyone what you're gonna do, just go do it, start that company. And there was a million reasons not to start it, but finally there's got to be a day where you just go in there and start the company. And if someone really has a dream and Japan's a big part of it, I'm not going to be a hater. Maybe just go for it and try to make it line up along the way. My company had a million reasons why we shouldn't do it, right?
What's one reason?
Yeah, I mean, pharmaceutical regulations. No one had ever made a real anti-flush product in Japan before. We were the first, right? In the US, there's quite a few, but Japan, there's never been any. So we had to go all the way from the beginning, get the approvals, get the formulations, get the branding, all of that. It's a huge process. And there was so many people say, "Oh, you'll never get it done. It's not going to happen. There's a reason no one's done it before." Don't listen to the haters, is what I say. Don't listen to anyone who tells you it's not going to happen, because if you believe it, you can make it happen for sure.
If you're starting a business in Japan and people are telling you not to do it, how do you know if they're a hater or if they're actually giving you good advice?
Man, I think that's not a specific question for Japan. It's anywhere. And I actually tell a lot of entrepreneurs who ask me, I say, don't listen to any advice, especially and when someone's doing a podcast or making content. Man, how many people tell you don't do this, change it this way, change it this, but that's not what people are looking for. They're looking for authenticity. They're looking for your real self coming through. So many people told me this design is never going to work. This name is bad. This whole idea is bad. Don't listen to advice. Just believe in yourself and make it happen.
When you were starting your business, what type of advice did you take then?
What did we take? Oh, there was so much bad advice, right? There's so much bad advice, like, oh, the drinks are never going to work. You have to do powders or tablets or this, but they didn't understand the formulation behind it, why we were doing drinks. Some people said, oh, this name you've come up with, it's not good enough. People aren't going to understand. Okay, but we made it by listening to people over and over and hearing what the customers said. So maybe I would say, if you're going to take advice, listen to your customer. Go out and talk to your customer. Find that person. In our case, it was someone at the bar who's, after they're having fun with their friends, but after a drink, they're totally red, they're sweating, they're getting a headache, they're trying to enjoy, but they can't. We went to that person and we said, what do you think of this name? What about this product? What about this taste? And they gave us way better advice than any investor, than any advisor or anything like that. So
He just wants you to be here. We just got stopped by the cops. Nothing serious.
by the security guard. That's nice of him. Just take up a little less space. Japan is awesome.
Okay.
In the U.S., the security guards would be like, "Get out of here!" In Japan, they're like, "Could you just take one step forward?" Just Tokyo's and Japan in general is such a great place to live, right? There's a lot of reasons to not start a business here, but look, it's so safe. People are so kind. And let me say, even though I'm not Japanese, I've never been discriminated by Japanese businessmen. Even our company has been welcomed into drugstore associations, industry associations. We get invited to exclusive events only among Japanese businesses. I'm telling you, don't worry about it. If you've got value to add and a great idea, Japanese businessmen will welcome you in. So give it a shot. Go into a room, there's literally 500 Japanese businessmen in you, right? But I've been there. I'm telling you, as long as you, let's say, go 50% into their culture and you're not all the way, only 50%, but you've got something to bring. You're an interesting person, you've got a cool new product or some kind of new technology that you're bringing to the table. Man, they're never gonna push you away. They're really excited for it, especially when they can see that you're passionate about Japan and bringing something for Japanese people. So man, we've been blessed, blessed with that.
Many people want to start a business in Japan, but they feel like they might get discriminated against because they're a foreigner. Is that true?
So my advice with that is, it's your we're here in Japan. Your job is to go 50% of the way there, right? Still be yourself, but you've got to know how to be part of Japanese business culture, right? The bowing, the thank yous, the letters, the way that they're communicating. You have to go that extra mile to make them feel comfortable. But as long as they feel like you are making an effort to be part of their culture, you're never going to have a problem. And I really mean that. We've been just so lucky. We've been accepted into so many groups, so many wonderful events that are, most 99% Japanese people and us. And we're always welcome. So you've definitely got a shot, but try to learn Japanese.
What were some of the challenges of building a business in Japan as a foreigner?
Yeah, unfortunately, the worst one is the visa, right? If you're not a citizen or permanent resident, you have to have either an employment or business manager visa, and that's just such a struggle, right? They're always requesting extra documents. My recent visa renewal for business manager was 140 pages of documents, and there's no guidance, right? You have to prepare all that yourself. Unfortunately, it's a very tedious process, and you hear so many entrepreneurs in Tokyo or Japan just having the issue with the visa renewals and that stuff. So unfortunately, that has been a big challenge that's affected our company. The other challenges, so specifically for startups, fundraising and getting loans. So my startup has got loans and fundraising from Japanese venture capital, but it was not an easy road. And I talked to so many entrepreneurs here. That's going to be a big struggle. And there's so many companies here are not even pitching to Japanese venture capital because it's just not even worth it. They're just going totally out of Japan and say, okay, let's just go for all the non-Japanese venture capital, right? Because the Japanese venture capital is slow. They're very conservative. They like to push startups' valuations down to get a better deal, and they don't have a good reputation globally. And then you've got the corporate venture capitals, the big companies, and they're just so conservative. They don't want to take a risk on a new company. And so we were really lucky to get one of the more risk-taking venture capital to believe in us. But generally speaking, that's a huge challenge here, right? You're not going to be able to just go to the bank and get a loan like in other markets, or you'll pitch to 50 venture capital before you even get a serious shot at it. So yeah, that's been one of the big challenges, not only for me, but all the startups here.
How were you able to overcome them when you had like a lot of objections?
Just keep going, man. If there's what's like the thing that every entrepreneur has to do, man, you cannot give up. You have to believe in your vision, be persistent, don't take no for an answer. Every no you get is an opportunity to think about it. But I will say the way we got our venture capital was we first pitched them in 2020. Actually, they said no. They said, you don't have a full product yet. We think it's interesting. Come back in a year. We came back in a year with our first product. They said, this is just okay. It doesn't taste that good. We want to see a little more. And I said, okay, come on. So we came back 2 years later, pitched them a third time, and finally they said yes. Okay, and we've done it. And that's not the only one, right? I've found that the more you keep up with these investors, because they're humans too, right? They're making decisions on people they trust and like and believe in. So they want to see that you're sticking around and you're not just going to fold at the first sign of any trouble. So keep in contact with investors you think would add value to you. Keep pushing them every year. Go again. Say, look, here's the improvements we've made. Come on, give us a shot. And so that was how we finally got it done. Was just keep going back and not knocking on the door. And man, but let me say, I recently was really fortunate to participate in a startup boot camp type of thing, an accelerator, where one of the mentors was a very successful entrepreneur named Chris Berry, and he has done 2 unicorns in his career. He told us that he had something like 700 plus pitches in his career, and 16 times he got funded, which is like 2%. And then I look at my pitching history. I've pitched about 120 times just for this company, and we've got funding from twice. So almost the same ratio as Chris, right? Yeah. So like,
That's inspiring.
yeah. Well, you have to keep going, man. Literally 100 no's before you get a yes. But if you believe in your idea, it's gonna happen. You can't let someone tell you no.
People want to know how to start a business in Japan, but how do they do it step by step?
Yeah. So when I started my company, there was no help. I was struggling. I looked online. There were no good guides. I asked people. They said, I don't know. I just had a lawyer do it. And we didn't have the money to hire a big shot lawyer to do all this for us. We're bootstrapping startup. So I started doing it all myself. I went to the center in Tokyo called the Tokyo One-Stop Business Establishment Center at the Jetro headquarters. They've got lawyers sitting there all day, that literally 8 lawyers paid by the government to answer your questions about starting a company. And through that process, I learned everything about incorporation, what kind of company you want, who's the directors, how do you change them, blah, blah, blah. How do you start a bank account? How do you sign an office lease? And after I got all this information, I felt this desire that I had to give this information back to the people. And so I started writing LinkedIn articles, and they blew up, became way more popular than I expected. And I wrote one about how to open a business bank account step by step. And then one on how to incorporate a company in Japan step by step. And they became super popular. They're the go-to guides on the internet right now. and I get many people asking me for more advice, more specifics. And then I have a small service helping those companies just get it done as quick as possible. So if you have any specific questions on how to actually start your business, first, read my guide on LinkedIn. Second, DM me. I'm always happy to help. No problem. Any entrepreneur that needs help, you can come to me.
A lot of people, they also want to start a business, but they don't know what type of business to pursue. How did you know? How did you know what type of business that you wanted to pursue
Man,
here?
I was the guy that, like, if I talk to my mom now, she's like, "Oh, I remember driving you to school in elementary school, and you're like, oh, I gotta start a business for this and do that, and we gotta sell this." And so I've always been very business minded. But yeah, so I was 20 years old. I was dreaming of starting a business, but I didn't have that idea, right? It was okay, I got hundreds of ideas, but nothing that really stuck. And then finally, I was living in Osaka, and I was actually at a drinking party with my volleyball team at the time. I saw a bunch of my teammates all turning red, and I was thinking back to my days at university in Chicago, and my roommate, my Asian American friends turning red and taking medicine for this problem, and then seeing my teammates in Osaka and thinking, man, these guys are going through the same problem. Why don't they have this solution that people in America have? And just being inspired by that, and just having it rack my brain just over and over, just thinking about it. And it felt like an epiphany, right? Where suddenly it was like, this is something that no one's tried to solve before. I know the solution. I know the customers. I've got a connection here in Japan because I've been working in Osaka. This is it, right?
Wow.
And then, yeah, it wasn't, even though I had that epiphany, it wasn't a one-day thing, right?
Got it.
I spent a year and a half while I was still employed, visiting factories, calling factories, talking to drink experts, interviewing friends that turned red, just to say, like, what is this really a good chance? Is nobody else doing this? And then, yeah, after about a year and a half, I was like, all right, I got to do this. Like, this is the chance I've been looking for. So,
Got it.
yeah, I mean, to give a quick summary, it's just, how do you know when it's the right idea?
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to stop thinking about it. It's going to be stuck in there. I almost think it's like getting married, right? And a lot of people don't think this of this point when they're starting a company, is like, you actually have to make a commitment to your company, almost like a girlfriend or like a partner, because, right, think about, at what point do you change your LinkedIn to say, I'm now the founder of this company? Because if you do that, okay, you can't apply for any other jobs. No one wants to hire someone who's running their own company, right? So I would say, once you have that feeling that, okay, I'm ready to give up any other jobs for this one.
Wow.
I think that's when you know it. Kind of like a relationship,
Look at
right?
that.
It's like, I finally, you meet you meet a young lady you really like, you get along super well, but still, it's always tough to say, okay, I'm ready to give up every other potential girlfriend for her.
Got it.
That's
Such a
that's
great way
kind
to
of how
look
I
at
look
it.
at it, right?
Well, you also mentioned that you had so many ideas, right? So many.
Still, man, still to this day,
So how?
man, I just have to push them back. Like, stop it, stop it, man. I've literally got a list of ideas that I keep in the back burner that I can't touch them. I can't do it. I have to keep them in the back.
So what made you pursue? What made you pursue this idea rather than all the other ideas that you had?
Man, okay, yeah. I guess it was the fact that this idea actually changed people's lives, and I could see it. Okay, I mean, the number one moment for Reiwa Pharmaceuticals is when I give someone who's completely red our anti-flush products, and 30 minutes later, their headache's gone. They're like almost back to white. They're really enjoying drinking, and we see it affect them. And we've had over the 5 years, we've had hundreds of people message us saying, wow, this really helped me. I've been struggling with this my whole life. And it wasn't only for Japan. There's no anti-flush products in China, Korea, Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, Singapore, right? None at all. And I thought, man, made in Japan anti-flush products is the chance
Good
to,
ring.
to help all people suffering from alcohol flush throughout Asia. And I saw this vision and this big opportunity, and I just couldn't let it go. And man, look, no one's ever going to be perfect. Just like a wife, just like a partner or anything like that. It's never going to be the perfect person. But at some point, you have to say, I love you. We're meant to be together. And this is, I'm committing to this company. So,
That's awesome.
yeah.
What's the number one piece of advice you could give to foreigners who want to start a business here in Japan?
Start learning Japanese. Yeah, that's the truth, man.
To what level?
Man, you gotta be conversational.
Okay.
At the minimum is
And
I can tell you for our company, if I didn't speak good Japanese, there's no way we would have got in the drugstores. There's no way we would have got a bank loan. There's no way we would have made a lot of the partnerships that we've been able to foster so far. You gotta have at least a decent level of that language. I would say that's really important. But even before that, just get over here and experience some Japanese culture. I mean, just maybe even get an internship or a job at a Japanese company. See what it's like before you jump in, because
Got it.
there are I think you should be a patient person to work in Japan, right?
Got
That's
it.
I think it can be the people I see that don't succeed here are very impulsive, anxious people, and they have trouble going with the flow of Japanese business. So because it moves slow here, is
Got
the
it.
truth.
What made you decide to start a business in Japan as opposed to the US?
My second choice was China. Yeah, because I did my business school in Shanghai. I wanted to do it in China, and I realized for a number of reasons it's not that great of an idea for a non-Chinese person to do a company in China. Anyone will tell you that. But why Japan other than the U.S.? I wanted to live here in Japan. That's probably the truth of it. Is that since I was 5 years old, sushi has been my favorite food. Not even kidding. I mean, I just have this dream living in Japan, and I do it. Right, it's coming true. I eat sushi
Every day?
3 times a week here,
Okay.
something like that. Last week was twice, but really, I love it. I'm obsessed with it. It's even like that's one of the jobs that I'm not doing is a sushi like tour guide and a connoisseur and such. But that's obviously one reason. But yeah, I love living here. I love the trains. I love the safety. The people are so kind. I've made lots of friends here, and specifically for Tokyo, you've got a huge international community, right? We've got I love American and British comedians. A lot of them come here to Tokyo. We've got all the major concerts, artworks, whatever you're into. It's here in this giant city. It's an awesome place to live. Yeah, if you're gonna do a startup, I'd really suggest Tokyo. I think
Got it.
this is where the big scene is in Japan for a startup business.
Got
So
it.
yeah,
Okay.
definitely look to Tokyo first.
People want to start a business in Japan, but they don't know when to quit their job to do so.
That's a tough one.
What advice can you give them?
Took me 2 years almost. Yeah, so I was from idea to actually quitting somewhere between 18 months and 2 years. I would say keep that job until you've done the market research, and then the advice I got was to get the trademarks before you quit, before you even start the company. Is that if you've got a brand in mind or a consumer product, come here to Tokyo and register the trademark before you even quit your job or get the company. That's step one. But yeah, I would say do all the consumer research, really talk to people, interview them, visit a factory if you're going to be building something, or come to here to keep that job, keep the income coming in for, I mean, minimum 6 months, but maybe even more, while you come here and do your due diligence and maybe even establish the company, right? Keep that, because look, there's no, if you start a startup, it's going to take 6 months minimum, usually a lot longer, to be making any money through that company. And a lot of times things go wrong with a startup company like this. Don't bank on your startup making money right away. Do anything you can to keep that extra income coming. Keep it, if, change even before quitting, change to part time. Give it a try. Tell your boss, I'm obsessed with this idea. I've got this dream. I like this job, but I got to go part time, or it's not going to work. Try that at least, right? Keep that secondary income coming in while you're doing your company. Really.
Bo, thank you very much.
Yeah, for
Appreciate it.
sure, man. Well, anybody who wants to start a company here in Tokyo, come talk to me. I'm on LinkedIn. It's easy to get in touch. So, whatever we can do to make your dream come true.
Perfect. That's a wrap.
Sayonara.